This is something I've been saying to my groups quite a lot, particularly this year, because I've seen a lot of final reports and presentations that give, perhaps in the executive summary, a lot of recommendations that are largely qualitative. We've early talked about the mistake of seeing it as a yes-no question for the student group to answer. And what matters to the hidden client who's reading the executive summary is almost certainly something about a business decision. And that business decision is probably an investment decision. So the hidden client may themselves have the budget, or they may have to justify higher up the company that it is worth going ahead with the recommendations. And so in order to do that, the questions that are obviously going to come back are, well, how much does it cost me to proceed with this course of action, and what am I going to make from it? And that is a number, that is a financial number. So with pretty much any problem that is originally set, the answer probably boils down to that decision, and that decision needs numbers in pounds or dollars or whatever to justify it.
So if, for example, you were coming to me for a job and I had to decide what you were worth, there would be no way on the planet for me to actually know what value you're going to generate for my business. But in fact, my answer simply is to pay you or not pay you the salary you're asking. And that's a number.
That is a number, indeed. And I think the challenge for students or doing projects like this is to get from the original question, which might seem quite qualitative, or it might be a should we do this or should we do that, to translate that into this final investment case that is being made to senior management that has numbers in it. And I think a mistake students often make is they just stop with the question and they don't do that further thinking at the level of the hidden client to get to, to get to that number or the set of numbers that are important.
Let's take an example like quality of service. Can you suggest some ways into which we could try to collect numbers relating to the quality of service?
If we're thinking about that, that's a good example of where maybe the question put to the students is sounds qualitative. It might be investigate the level of service and what we might do about it. So that sounds very qualitative. But in practice, investigating means putting some numbers to things. So those numbers would be you would try to identify the particular incidence of what is defined as good and bad service, and there's work to do to work up those definitions of what you mean there.
So at that stage you're still working qualitatively to get a good qualitative description, and then? And
then you need to put the numbers to them to understand how often do they actually happen for your client, and to some extent what the impact is, and ideally you would try and put a financial impact to that. For example, the business is lost or the business is gained times the contract value. That would be one way of doing it. But certainly the more that you can log and clarify what exactly those service incidents were using numbers, then you will have a better chance at the end to answer the client question, which was about how to improve it, not by simply saying, well, you could do a bit more of this, you could do a bit more of that, but you could say, these are the particular areas, these are the number of incidents, multiply by that, this is costing you as a company this much, or this might make you as a company this much if you improve it. So the answer there is a number driven from the question of how to improve our quality of service.
Well, you're reminding me of one example, which was the retailer Tesco, which did a lot of research for its customers, and they said, we want to be in a retailer where we don't have to queue, we don't want to have to wait. And then Tesco didn't simply say qualitatively, let's reduce people waiting. They had a very concrete slogan, which was actually a number, one in front. So the goal was there should only ever be one person in front of you at the queue, and in order to deliver that number one, Tesco had a principle that any member of the staff, including the store manager who was earning maybe six-figure salary a year, when the call came, that person would go right down and take the nearest available till to try to remove the stress. So in that particular case, your feel and my feel that we don't want to be hanging around was translated into minutes saved, and then Tesco translated it into one single number for its own performance measure, which of course it advertised to customers.